Do you play poker? I'm only 10. The House with a Clock in Its Walls is based on a 1973 children's novel from John Villers and is directed by Eli Roth and stars Jack Black, Cate Blanchett, and Owen Vaquero. After an accident with his parents, a young Lewis goes to stay with his uncle Jonathan, but shortly after arriving he discovers there's something different about the house where his uncle is staying, and shortly after he's thrust into a world of magic. Now I gotta say, a good homage is an excellent way to get me on board with a film, and The House with a Clock in Its Wall certainly does that early on, which is so awesome. The title card comes up to read that the film is set in 1955. Shortly after, when young Lewis arrives at his uncle's house, he walks into the main hallway and there's many clocks chiming at the same time, and I had to grin at the two Back to the Future references that this film rolled out early on.
Yes!
So maybe this film should have been called A House with Clocks in Its Walls.
No!
House was definitely an enjoyable ride for me, and it fortunately plays to the strengths of its two adult actors in the cast here. We have Jack Black, who is great when he's playing the dramatic roles, but for me, I actually find him at his best when he's playing the fun, lovable characters with great comedic moments, and the film certainly plays to that, and he has a lot of great scenes in this film. Cate Blanchett as well, who Jack gets the opportunity to play off, I find is always a dynamic presence on screen. She's always fantastic. But I also find that she's at her best when she's playing a lot of strong theatrical roles with a lot of dramatic moments. And so when these two are paired up, they have wonderful chemistry on screen, and their banter is quite enjoyable to watch. They're both very well cast in this film. Unfortunately, this film plays less to the strengths of the young Owen Vaquero. As this is his story, he is required to hit a lot of heavy emotional beats throughout the movie. And unfortunately, at times, he does come across a little bit awkward. And I think what this really comes down to is that director Eli Roth could have worked with Owen a little bit more in these particular dramatic scenes, just to get a little bit more of a consistent performance out of him. There are a lot of very tough scenes for this kid to act in, and I think he shows a lot of potential, and he does have great energy, but unfortunately, it is one of those situations where, unfortunately, it just didn't quite come out in some of these scenes. And I think Eli Roth could have got some better takes out of Owen had he worked with him just a little bit more. In many ways, I actually find that the relationship between Jonathan and Lewis in this film is actually a metaphor for how Eli Roth and Owen Vaquero actually work together, in that it's basically just two people struggling to make that particular special connection. There is some awkward acting at times throughout the film, mostly from Owen Vaquero, and there is some strange editing choices as well that don't quite have the right transitions between scenes to set up that particular flow. But I gotta say that I still had fun with this film because there is some great character moments in this movie, and Nathan Bell's uplifting, energetic score also really helps pick up the slack where needed. Guys, I gotta say, it's just great to see Eli Roth trying something new here, and here he's shown that he doesn't need blood, he doesn't need gore, he doesn't need the horror movie genre in order to tell a great story. He can operate outside of that, and as a family film, this pretty much works. And I'd like to see Eli tackle some more family films in the future, and it's just great to see a new direction for him. The House with a Clock in Its Walls is a fun, enjoyable ride. I had a pretty good time with this film, and yes, it's slightly awkward at times, but for 100 minutes, it does manage to conjure up some magic, and it is a pretty good choice as a family film. The only thing that I would bear in mind here is that I don't think some of the sequences in this film are going to work for toddlers. I think just some of the sequences in this film are just a little bit too horrific for very young children. But for any ages, say 7 or 8, anything older than that, I think kids will have a pretty good time with this. Go and check it out.
Perfectly safe.
That's safe?
As long as it's fed.
Guys, if you dug this review, don't forget to flick a like and subscribe, and also hit that little notification bell to the side as well, so you never miss a review. Until next time, guys, don't forget, a weekend watching movies is a weekend well spent. Thanks heaps for watching.